Hello, everyone. You're filing in now. I am so excited to see you. I am Charlie, head poodle shaver here at Momentus. As you all begin to file in, would love to hear from you in the chat. Chat is now turned on. It is on. Love to hear from you, where you're from on this lovely Friday. Um, we have a lot of fun in store for you with this lady next to me, this punk rock fairy princess known as Kim Rhodes. We're going to do some spookies tonight. I'm not going to talk a lot. I am very excited about what you have to offer, Kim.
Oh my gosh, I just got excited by all the people I saw there. Hi, I love. Oh my God, Race. Hi, hi. Okay, I won't. Yes, hi. Is that my cue to start talking and telling my stories?
Yes. Also,
Yeah.
is there someone behind you?
Reagan's
Right?
here.
Is there someone sitting behind you right now?
Yes, there are two people behind me. Can you see Tabby?
Yes.
You're gonna need to hold still, babe. We've here. Let's move this over here,
Yeah.
so we don't have. Yes, there are people here behind me. My daughter
Great.
wanted to be involved because she also loves ghost stories and is now a huge fan of Supernatural.
Oh,
And my
good.
best friend from high school is visiting, so
Oh,
they're watching me work this evening.
excellent. Well, we're excited
But
for all
there
the
now they're
spooky.
not.
Where did they go? It's like they disappeared.
It's like they were ghosts.
Now, wait, Kim,
Um,
do you have tea? Do you have tea prepared?
do I have the tea? I'm not going to spill it because that's for the
Oh,
subscription.
yeah. Yeah.
Which by the way, this one is the spill the tea subscription, the glass, the art on the glass alone makes me think I could possibly turn lead into gold. They're gorgeous, gorgeous bottles. But tonight, the chai tea.
Chai it is. Chai it
Um,
is. Well, we're all here.
it was
I'm really
appropriate.
excited to talk to you about this because I don't. This is a topic I don't think you and I have sat down and chatted through, but I respect your opinion and experience very much. So, in this spooky season, my Samhain moment. Samhain is Samhain.
Ah,
Um,
yes,
that's
yes.
my fault. Um, but this moment when things feel a bit more on the supernatural side. Sorry to bring up that word again, but this is a moment when Day of the Dead, a number of different traditions. We're talking a little bit about the living and the non-living, and I think it's good to honor that a little bit. So I'm excited to talk to you about this.
Thank you. Well, it's not something that I talk a lot about on the public level
Yeah,
because I sound batshit cray cray.
even better.
Uh, yes. Um, I'm sorry. I'm going to do better with my language. Let's stop and accept the fact that that was an ableist term, and that's not okay. It sounds preposterous and unbelievable, and it makes me feel silly and ashamed.
Yes,
So let's be precise
do that.
and aware of our words
Do
this
it. Let's
evening.
do it.
Um, I I want to give people some framework first of all. So
Yeah.
the first thing I'm going to say is that I am only going to speak about my experience and how my brain interpreted that experience.
Okay.
The goal of this is not to prove to you anything happened. It is not to become a mockery for you. It is simply to say, this is what I experienced, and this is how my brain interpreted it. Within that, I also want to add the framework of my belief system. Now, it is my belief system that comes from my very unique perspective. So, if you don't believe this, you don't need to in order to enjoy this evening, but just so you know where I'm coming from. I believe we are all information receptors. And the information that is the most obvious for us to receive, excuse me, chai burp, is light waves go in my eyeballs, interpreted by brain as things I see. Uh, Things I touch feel solid, even though physics has proven that the majority of an atom is space. I still think it's solid because I touch it and my brain interprets it as solid. I believe that there are also pieces of information that I receive that are not received by my five senses and are not transmitted in forms that we are aware of yet. So I believe I have experiences that are innate and inexplicable, not because they're an innate and inexplicable, but because we just don't understand them yet. So I receive information. Some of us, and then we all receive information differently. Some of us are radios. Some of us work better as computers. Some of us are cameras. So we all have a way of receiving information that we gravitate towards. And to continue with this metaphor, say I'm a radio, I have the choice what volume I put it at, whether I turn it off. Do I leave it on white noise because I find it comforting? Do I only listen to 80s disco? Do I leave it on one station and drive my car all over the United States? So sometimes it's Christian rock and sometimes it's, I don't know, sometimes. So within that, I have choice of how I receive. And I believe we all have that. Now, when I was a little kid, I really wanted to see ghosts. I lied my socks off and told everybody every Friday the 13th I saw ghosts because I wanted to be special. I wanted to be magic. I wanted to be powerful. And I lied for a really long time until I realized that people fucking knew I was lying. And so maybe I should stop lying about stuff like that. Pretty sure. Did not have supernatural experiences as a kid because I wanted to so badly. This will come around. Pay attention to this moment right now. My desire as it attached to my ego was extreme.
Got it.
And possibly crippling. So the first and probably scariest ghost story I have happened in college. Hold on a second. I need to leave camera because I forgot to get a very important prop for this. Hold on. Please hold, Charlie.
Yep. So, everybody, if you're already keeping up, you are probably some sort of Circuit City radio station. Okay.
Prop acquired. All right. So college, where kids are at our most smart and forward thinking and able to incorporate the consequences of our actions into our daily life on a regular basis. My friends got a Ouija board. Now, do I believe that Hasbro has the power to talk to the dead? I don't know. Like, I personally think that anything has the power to connect anywhere because it's not about the thing, it's about the receptors and the signals being sent.
Right. Intuitiveness of
the user. I sat in the room and did not touch the thing. And they talked to DJ, as he said. And there were a couple of nights I didn't touch it. And they started asking DJ who DJ liked and who DJ didn't like. DJ, very honest, anyone that you don't like. And DJ said, Kim. Now, again, for those of you who don't know how Ouija board works, it's two people, their fingers are on it. They're not supposed to be controlling it. But of course, I was the fucking asshole that everybody decided, sure, the spirits don't like Kim. Like, that's still, I'm not buying any of this. They said, why don't you like Kim? And DJ said, she won't let me in. I was still like, in where? In her room. I can't go in her room. And then things started getting weird. Because they thought it was hilarious that I was uncomfortable. And they said, why can't you go in her room? They said, he won't let me in. I can go in everybody else's room, but he won't let me in. And I can't fucking believe I'm telling anybody this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
And they said, who? And they spelled out Hercules. And everybody starts cracking up. They're like, oh my God, Kim, you've got a Greek god looking out for you. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Right?
Amazing.
This is Hercules.
Oh my God, what?
He was my mother's horse when she went to college. And she gave him to me when I was born and told him to take care of me. And I had brought him to college with me and told no one, because who fucking admits they have a stuffed horse in college? So I went back to my room to get Hercules, because, like, I'll be damned if anybody's going to fuck with my horse, right? So I go back to my room. I get my stuffed horse. I walk back to my friend Gordon's room, and I hear screaming from inside the room. And I open the door, and apparently the thing started going, no, 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 get out, get out. No, 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 go away, go away, go away. And then I come in with fucking Hercules, who's my guy. He's my guy, right? Oh, and they're like, get the what the fuck? DJ doesn't like you, because they, of course, assume Hercules is possessed. I know DJ's fucking with everybody, right? I go back to my room, and I'm a 19-year-old who thinks it's really fucking cool to have candles in cool alcohol bottles that had lined my shelf. They had all come off and smashed. And that is the scariest ghost story I have. So from here on out, it's all just esoteric and weird stuff. Okay. But that's the only, like, oh, that shit is scary. So there, that is, but I still have Hercules, and he still takes care of me. He's my guy.
First of all, he's adorable. First of all,
isn't he adorable? He lived in my closet when we did. I think you might have met him when we did the the podcast in my closet.
Yeah, the closet.
Yeah. He lives in my office now.
Okay, well, so a couple of things. One, if anyone has a spooky paranormal encounter that you would like to share, jump into the Q&A box and hit the raise hand button. There's a little reaction button that you can hit here, because we'd love to hear from a couple of you. That's number one. Number two, can I follow up a little bit on that story and just ask questions? Have you ever brought or needed Hercules again?
Not that I'm aware of, but I've also never fucked around with a Ouija board again.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Nope, no, thank you. First of all, there's a bunch of people have chills. I have chills right now. So you've maybe you never needed. Maybe Hercules has been preventing the whole time, and you've not noticed. Yeah. Okay. Have you ever heard of anyone else with a similar situation, with something that's imbued with a protective quality that they bring with them in your life? Or is this like the only time you've ever heard of something like that?
Oh, I think it's ancient, right?
Yeah.
You weave charms into a child's blanket.
Yeah.
You weave there are things, and I think love, and this will show up a little bit further when I talk about ghosts. I think love can create its own entity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think when you love enough so that you want to, now a lot of times our intention is to love, but the action, it's reality, it's fear. Yeah. So it might not be as powerful of a talisman, because you're mixing love and fear and it doesn't quite create its own thing. But sometimes love I think that's very strong, and given to a child, it's very common. Isn't it?
Interesting.
So do you have questions on that one?
Well, first of all, I don't know why Lisa is trying to do this to me. Kim, you have to tell the feminine hygiene story. I want to see Charlie's face. This is not what?
No,
I don't.
That's not a ghost story. That's a me being really, really challenged and rising to the challenge. We'll do that on another. Spooky. We should do that. You know what? Here we go. Come to the all-female panel when we do all the women of Supernatural, and ask me again on that one, and I will tell the feminine hygiene story.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. Really, that's helpful. Thank you. Thanks.
Gotcha.
First of all, women's bodies are not spooky. How dare you? Second of all, we've got some people who have raised their hands, so we can go to
well, let me get so that one took a long time. I've got two more important chunks that I want to hit, because of course, you know me, this is a teachable moment. So I want to also talk about what makes a ghost.
Yes.
Because it is my opinions, experience that they come from a couple different places. Um, just like there's different receptors, there's different things that create energy change. Now, sometimes an experience itself becomes its own duplicate. It's like what was it that they said? There's independent spirits, and then there's just they're like echoes.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes the echoes can take on their own. They can be like, no, no, I am a thing. I am my own thing. Yes, residual. Thank you, Michelle. So there's a residual. And that's where you get the steps that happen every night at the same time. Or you get the specter that da 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 is that. And then there's another thing where they're actually there. So, oh, I'm just jumping all over the place. So I have examples of both of those. Uh, when I lived in an apartment in an intelligent haunt, thank you, Michelle. So when I lived in an apartment in Philadelphia, it was um, 5 apartments, half flight up between all of them. And they had those fire alarms that you stuck on the wall. They weren't attached to each other, they were just drill in. This is in the 90s. And randomly at different times, they would go off in order. They would just start go off and then it would stop and then on and off. And then it would go off as if someone's coming down the stairs, but no one was ever in the hall. And I want to get through this quickly, so I won't give you all the details, but I was sitting in my apartment one night with the lights down low, feeling very, very sorry for myself. Um, just in that kind of fugue state where it's like, no one's ever been as depressed as I am, and no one knows who I am, and da 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 da. Like the lights were those, those dimmable lights from the 90s. It was almost off. It was as down as it could go, and I was almost asleep, but I was wrapped in my own misery. And I looked over, and a man walked through my front door, and he was wearing a blue seersucker suit, and he had a white hat, and they walked like 5 steps, and then he turned around, and over his shoulder, he saw that I was looking at him, and he turned around and he just touched his hat. Now, I want you to time this. I'm sitting there. I saw him walk, 2, 3, turn, look at me, touch, and then he was gone. Because it took that long for my brain to go, oh, fuck, what? And then I couldn't perceive him. So this is what I was talking about at the beginning. When I am attached to perceiving, when I am attached to being right, when I am attached to talking to people's dead relatives, the ego steps in and is like, nope, sorry, no, you're too attached to the outcome. You're too attached to being right. So it's not going to happen for you. It's when I'm in that state where I have no attachment that it can ease through the cracks.
Right. It's when you're silent or still, that's when the signal can come in.
Yes. When I'm not preoccupied with all the other signals.
Yeah.
So that's why yeah. So the other kind, and this is later down the line. So I went through an experience. Maybe we'll get back to it or maybe we won't. But I was at the site. I think people have heard me talk about this. I was at the site of an accident. The young man died. I felt him die. And then through the course of the next 3 weeks, he told me how to find him on Facebook. He told me who to contact out of his friends list. His friend had a dream the night before that someone was going to call her. She should believe me. I ended up talking to his life partner, who I was able to say, like, he wrote this in the steam and you washed his feet. And it was very, very impossible for me to explain otherwise, other than I was getting information downloaded in my brain. And one of the things he said was, all right, here you go. Let's go. I was like, I'm doing this now.
Yeah.
Okay. So a friend of mine who knew that and then I had a couple other experiences where I very clearly had information that I had no way of having. And, her sister had died years earlier. And she finally was able to ask me, she said, do you sense my sister? And I started in about how when we leave our bodies, expand back into perspective that is no longer limited by the human brain and the human ego. And we expand. And from that perspective, we are able to, most of us move on. And so your sister was able to look at her lessons through addiction and the way she died in a way that brought her peace. And I felt a hand shove me in my face. And I stopped. And then like a bunch of shit got downloaded into my brain. But the most important was, no, I'm not. I'm here. I'm still mad and I'm not fucking going anywhere. And so I said, Rebecca, I was lying to you. I was telling you what I wanted you to feel. I just felt a hand push me in the face. And she lost her shit. She said that's how she fought. She went for the face every single time. She went for the face. And through that experience, that is the other kind of haunting, where a being so identifies self with something earthly that they refuse to expand. They still have free will, but be it fear, be it longing, be it pain, whatever it is, the idea of sacrificing it to expand to our true nature is something they are unwilling to do.
Well,
so
what I hear you saying too is there's an attachment within that, right? Like there's
yes,
detaching from the body, being separate, being whole. In order for that not to happen, there needs to be some sort of attachment to that, those human, physical, emotional, something.
And I think it's much less common than the echoes, but that's also why you hear a lot of ghosts that are caused by suicide, because in order to take your own life, often you have to be completely identified with your pain, so much so that your pain is more valid of an identity than life. So
you're isolated from
that is
the awareness.
Yeah. So that's the other kind of ghost I've encountered. And I haven't very rarely, like she's the only other one that, and she wasn't mad at me. She was just mad. She was just like, I ain't cool about shit. And I'm not going to be cool about shit for a while. So fuck you. Don't put words in my mouth. And then the only other scary one I had was right after I started hearing. I use that word because it makes sense, but it feels much more like a download. It feels much more like when you're in a dream and you know behind that door is the bathroom, but you've never seen it before. That's what it feels like to me. Just all of a sudden, oh, your brother said a joke and you all laughed and then you felt guilty because your mom was dying, but she wants you to know that actually helped, that this is an actual story thing that happened. Like, oh, she actually wants you to know it's chill. It's good. She appreciated the laughter and it made her feel like home and she could leave. But the most of it just gets downloaded. But I didn't know, this is the third thing that I wanted to put in, is that I have a choice. And I didn't know I had a choice. I thought if I heard it, I had to. And what ended up happening is I was in Winnipeg. Excuse me, another chai burp. I also had not gotten sober at this point. Needed to get sober, wasn't sober. And I was in Winnipeg and I went to bed. And my eyes were closed, but all of a sudden I could see everything in the room, only the room left. And things for miles around that were angry and cold were coming for me. And I don't even know how to, it's like the other thing is, how come ghosts are always human? How come ghosts are always wearing clothes? How come ghosts so conveniently always speak my language? How come this was shit from the earth that was pissed. And so I called a friend of mine who is a professional psychic, and she was like, honey, you're not a bus stop. You get to set up rules. That's just, they're just dead. They're still people. Or not. And or not. So at that point I said, you don't get to talk to me unless it has to be me. I can actually do something to help, and we will receive a beneficial mutual aid. I am not in the business of having the shit scared out of me just so you can feel a sense of power for a second. No, thank you.
Yeah, no.
So that's where I left it. Now
Review.
I would like to hear it because we're at 6:25 now. I would like to hear from some hands that are raised.
Yeah, for sure. We've also got a couple here too, just to like do a lightning round real quick. Michelle R says the day after my husband died unexpectedly, I woke up at 3:30 a.m. with the TV on full volume. When I came out to turn it off, it was a music channel that was playing the song "Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone." I mean,
right?
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's take a couple of people. Also, while we're grabbing somebody here, I've been in the room when people have passed a couple of times now, a few times, which is an honor.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Wild, right. Have you experienced have you experienced someone sticking around versus it being like them leaving completely? Like, have you ever had a differential experience between each one of those that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was with the first person that taught me was my grandfather. I was with my grandfather when he died, and he could use his hand. And he held my hand and he pulled me over. So I was making eye contact with him, and I was staring in his eyes when he started to die. And I felt it go up out of his hand, out of his body. The machines all flatlined. He flatlined. Everything was done. Everything was, and I was coaching. I was like, "Come on, Grandpa, you got this. You got this. You're doing so good." And my mom thought I was hysterical. And my mom came over and said, "Kim, honey, he's gone." I said, "He's not gone. I can see him." And I leaned forward and I touched his head and I said, "Grandpa, you got to go." And I'm going to take my glasses off. And he went, and when he opened his eyes again, he was gone. It was like looking at a chair. And that was fucking amazing. And then when my mom went, I was sleeping next to her. And she took a while to like she was so excited, and she thought it was all so fucking hilarious. She was laughing so loudly that I had to tell her to please keep it down while I tried to talk to the minister. And he was ready to call an ambulance for me. I was like, "Mom, you're laughing too loud." She was just like, "This is hilarious. This is what I was scared of. This is beautiful. This is amazing." So yeah. Kim.
Hi.
Hi.
Are we wanting ghosts, definitely creepy, or one that I experienced that I thought was weird, but I'm not sure what it was?
Take as long as it's personal, you tell me.
Well, I'll go with the weird ones. Maybe you have an idea. This house we used to live in, it happened 2 or 3 nights. I was sitting in my room watching TV, and I heard my oldest calling for me in the living room. I went in there. Kid wasn't home. His friend said he wasn't there. He had been out with some other people. And I said, okay, went back to my room. It happened again the next night. And then either later that night or the following night, I hear him outside my bedroom door because mine went out to the patio saying, "Hey, Mom, let me in. I can't open the door." Well, that's not how my kid does that. My kid likes to scare me. So I got up, walked all the way to the living room, then looked out the front door, stupidly called out hello, like I don't know better from watching horror movies. Nothing happened, so I locked the door, went back to my room, avoided any window that allowed me to view the patio, and it never happened again. But it was weird.
That's disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
And why my kid specifically? Why not the little one or somebody else?
I don't know.
And it obviously doesn't know me or my kid that well, or wouldn't have done it the way it did it.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think there are so many different receptors and signals. I think there are so many different beings that I just don't. I mean, like we know for a fact there is this thing called infrared, which is a light frequency that we can't see. And yet I can see the color spectrum. I can see, and there's things I can't see. So why would I believe that there aren't things that exist that resonate on a bandwidth that I'm just not wired to detect. And somehow they can tap in to auditory vibrations or visual vibrations, or like, see, Michelle says, I've heard a mimic. So, like, a mimic that just feeds from response.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Now we're getting into extra.
Cryptid,
Like, I don't know. Is that a ghost? It's from Stephanie. It says they like to copy the living.
interesting.
Okay, but why me? Like,
Oh, why me? Why any of us? Like, that's where, because you know what? In order for me to do this thing tonight, I really, really had to get to the point where I said, my brain, my actual brain, its job is to believe in finity, mortality, and the reality of the five senses. So if I then am looking for something that will convince my brain to not do its job, I'm not going to win. So I have to just settle into my experience and be like, well, that was my experience. Oh. And a lot of times, why me? Oh. I mean, sometimes we do, and sometimes there's tales and stories that help us make sense of something. And sometimes it's just, I don't know, you were shiny at the moment.
No, Amy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hi.
Amy.
Hi.
Hi.
So your story about your grandfather is kind of similar, well, sort of similar to mine. My grandfather was in the nursing home passing away and was on palliative, and I had spent the entire day in the room with him. And finally, I was like, I have to go home. I'm exhausted. I said to my aunt when I left, when he passes, call me. I want to know. So I'm sound asleep in bed, and it was a little after 3 in the morning. And all of a sudden, I woke up like wide awake and sat up. And I turned to my dog and I said, we're not alone in here right now. And it was just this from dead sleep to wide awake. And then, not 10 minutes later, the phone rang, and my aunt said, your papa passed away about 10 minutes ago.
Right?
Sorry, it still gets
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Mm.
So held it together through the whole story. Yay, me.
Yeah, you did good. You did good. And that's why I say, like, so often ghosts are attached to spooky, right? Fear, like, oh, the darkness. But I think the majority of us who have connections with people who don't have bodies either anymore or never did, it's actually from our higher self, it's from our hearts, it's from a place of love. It's from, I have a friend who it's so fucking weird. Okay. So right after my dad died, a friend of mine had cancer, and I would go and sit with him while he had chemotherapy so his mom could have a break. And I knew when he died, I talked to his mom, and I wasn't used to people I knew sticking around and having things to say, but he was very clear, like, here's the deal, because he was a martial artist and Filipino, and he was like, listen, there are kids who need a ninja to greet them on the other side. That's my job now. So just let my mom know that I'm going to go be a ninja and help kids who are dying and need a ninja to make them feel safe. I was like, I don't fucking know what's going on, but okay. Yeah. So tonight, all right, I'm going to put my screen for just a second. Right there. So that's my best friend from high school, Becky. So we're out for a walk, and out of the blue, Beck says, oh my gosh, my daughter, part of social media, and she sent me this thing. There was a conversation. I don't even know how she found it, but somebody was talking about you visiting their cousin who had cancer. And I was like, that does not sound like me. I did not do that. I don't. That sounds hard and sad. And also, are you sure it wasn't like somebody making fun of me? Because you know how those be like, Kim saved my cat by jumping out of a 30-story building. And, those, I thought that's what it was. And she showed it to me today. I was fucking Kevin. I was like, oh no, I did do that. Oh no, I did do that. So sometimes ghosts are just flybys. Sometimes they're just like weird coincidences where you go, oh, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Well,
Fuck, I love you.
can I just add one thing about my grandfather? Um, he was always very protective of me because I was so tiny when I was little and so quiet. So I was always his mousy. So I feel like he had to just check on me, you know.
Yep.
That's it. Okay, now I can
Yep.
cry.
Okay. Love you, Amy.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Hi, Ray. I see your heart. Brad, are we switching to you?
Yeah, wait.
Tell me a story, Brad. I know everybody tuned
Oh
in
my
for
God.
scary shit,
I
but
just noticed I'm Brad Crawford. Actually,
oh,
my name
yeah.
is
No, you're not Brad Crawford.
no, my name is
You're
Angela. My name
Hi,
is
Angela.
Angela. Um, so nice to finally see you. Okay, I'm excited. So I have two things. One, my aunt and niece that I used to live above in a duplex. So it was house downstairs, house upstairs, very Polish in this neighborhood in Cleveland. And so one night, nobody's home. My parents are working. My sister so happened to be at a friend's house. So I'm with my aunt and niece. And so I don't like her house because it's very scary. We hear things all the time, voices, feet. So we're sitting downstairs and all of a sudden the front door, the main front door slammed shut. But we don't know. We heard it open and slam shut. She goes, "You need to check that out." And I'm like, I'm 16. And she's telling me to go check this out. So I'm like, okay. So I understand she has a bum leg and I felt bad. So I go open her door. The main door's closed and it's locked. So we couldn't figure that out. But at that same time we heard that door open, we heard somebody run up the stairs to my apartment, to where we lived. Those are very like metal, like wooden stairs. So she's like, "Well, I can't go up there." And I'm like, "Great, you're going to send me up there." So not only open the door to check, I have to go upstairs and check what or who went up our stairs. I go up there hesitant because I can feel. I'm a very sensitive person, so I have plethora of stories, but this is one of my favorites. I went in the house, you first see the kitchen, nobody's there. Go into the first bedroom, no. Living room, absolutely not. Go down the hallway into my room, my sister's room. I even went into the attic, which nobody in my household would do that. Nothing. I couldn't find anybody. And I come back down the stairs, not realizing how scared I was until I sat down on her couch and just completely bent over shaking. She's like, "What is the problem? Who was up there?" I said, "Nobody. Absolutely nobody was up there." And she's like, "I heard walking." I said, "It was me. It was me walking up there." She goes, "No, when you came down the stairs, I heard walking." And I said, "I don't like this house anymore. I want to move." Cleveland was scary. That house was scary. That whole area was scary. I've been in House of Mirrors. That was scary.
Mhm.
That's a whole different story, but that was a great haunted house too. And I felt that from the street. I refused to go in that haunted house.
Oh,
And my sister made me because she's like, "You
well,
have to meet my friend." So kind of
and
like
I
that.
feel like a lot of the it's scary is
Mhm.
actually my brain trying to process. I'm just receiving messages that I'm not wired to process.
Yeah.
So my brain has to digest it as fear. Um, I don't, that said, I am easily frightened and I don't really like, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like going at it. But I think I would love to talk to, uh, I see the name. I just saw Amy Maltman,
Oh,
but
Bruni.
Amy
Bruni.
Bruni. Yes. I was like, I just saw the name and I'm not sure if I saw the name and I'm thinking of the right name. But I would like to talk to Amy Bruni about how much fear is actually I'm creating it because it's the only way my brain can process what's happening. when in fact the fear is completely unnecessary.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Amy's talked a lot about also about people sticking around and the use that ghosts have in our mortal lives. Like some are teachers, some are guardians, some are like that we are more attached to them than they are to us in a lot of ways. So we get freaked out, but really like they're here because they feel like they need to intervene, and if they're not here, we're okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There's a lot of like, why didn't my grandma send me a sign, or why didn't my husband send me it? Because once they get that perspective, like once they do step out, they're like, oh, it's all just like my mom laughing. Like, this is what I was said. This is what my mom said. It's the best joke. The punchline is worth it. And so it isn't that they don't love you or that it isn't real or that there isn't a connection. It's just that you're fine.
Yeah.
You're just experiencing being human right now.
And also, like, if we think about it, because I know we can get into like the creepy and spooky and oh my God, and things are being thrown around, but really, like, imagine all the mundane things that, like, I'm just going to go around ringing a bell because I'm just that asshole who's going to ring a bell all the time. Like, imagine being that annoying in the afterlife that this is what you do.
Yeah, that's your jam.
Yeah, it's
ringing a bell.
It's this one thing, so give me that. And I think I freaked out.
Somebody put a sheet over me. Woo, woo.
Yeah. I am that guy for sure. Kim, this has been so fun. And we've got lots here too. If there's so much here. We've been talking about the afterlife since the moment we were conceived, I'm sure. But we'll never stop talking about it because it's this great unknowable future that we all have in common. But I love your perspective and the difference between an echo or a residual and someone who's actively sort of still participating. And again, the tip about, our ego and our attachment or our like desire overtaking being open and just, what do I feel? Where am I? What am I getting?
And at the same time, if you don't want it, then just say, no, thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah. That's and Amy Bruni says the same thing. Like, it's very much like, no, this is a contract and I revoke that contract and I'm not here to deal with any of that. Sorry.
Yeah.
And yeah, this has been so fun. There's so many stories here. But we're getting to the end here. When we're going to be moving on to meet and greet. So if you have a meet and greet, just stick around right here. We'll get to those in just a moment. But thank you, Kim. And can I share,
Charlie?
Can I share one quick story from my life too?
Yes, please.
I would love to hear your perspective.
Yes.
My grandfather passed away from mesothelioma. He got lung cancer from working in the shipyards. He was a guy that like was around a lot of asbestos, a lot of naval work, right? He was when he died, he had a wake that had like 1,000 people down the block at the raid. Like, that was the kind of guy. He was this very Irish, very working class guy who famously had a tugboat filled with beer during World War II and brought beer to all the guys on the different boats. And he was that guy. When he died, he left his effects in a safe. We couldn't get into the safe, and no one could figure it out. They couldn't open it up. There's no way. But all of his will, the deed to the house, everything was in there. And just like you said, there was a moment felt so much attachment to him that I was in my grief. And then I just said, I have to just let this go a little bit. And he literally told me the combination to the safe. And we opened it up. And it's yet another reminder to me hearing again tonight, and I think for all of us, which is the gift that you're giving tonight, which is taking a look at our attachment to things, outcomes, emotions, our perspective. We're in a very heated moment right now in a lot of places around the country, to take a look at your perspective rather than it being so attached to it. And I just appreciate you reminding us of that idea that we can have a perspective, but we are not our thoughts. We can choose to look at our thoughts differently. So thank you.
And if someone disagrees with my perspective, that doesn't make me wrong.
Exactly.
And it's not my job to change it. I get to be happy and present in my experience, and I love that you were the one who listened to him, right?
Yeah.
Like, He probably did too. He probably was like, yeah, of course my boy heard me. Of
Yeah.
course he did. Of
Yeah.
course he did.
He called all of us George. Like no matter what our names were, it was like, okay, George, let's go. And I'm like, okay, we're going now. I can hear him saying George. Like it was just very clear. So thank you for that reminder. What a beautiful, beautiful reminder.
Thank
Um,
you.
all right. So and now since you have no attachment anymore, we're gonna eject you out of here if you don't have a meet and greet. I'm so sorry. But we
Thank you. I am reading I'm reading the things. I'm not responding to all of them, but I'm seeing them. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here and indulging me in my silliness and sharing in my just the experience of my heart. Thank you.
buddy. Amazing. What a great night. All right. So we're gonna be bringing you in as a panelist if you've done this before. Thank you, Berto. For
Thank
everybody
you.
say thank you to Berto for
Thank you,
interpreting.
Berto.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
B Money,